League of Legends is a very dynamic game and is subject to change at any one time. Things such as items, champions, and general game balance can all be adjusted by Riot to make the game more enjoyable for the majority of players. So please be aware, this guide may not still be applicable depending on the times. Welcome to Champion Crash Course featuring Aatrox, the Darkin Blade. Aatrox is a tanky bruiser whose main goal is to jump into the fight and dish out tons of damage. I would recommend you play him either top lane or in the jungle, as his kit allows him to sustain himself in the top lane, whereas his abilities make him great for ganking from the jungle. He isn't a very popular pick in most games, so there aren't a lot of people in the world who actually really know how to handle him or play against him. However, he has been picked quite a few times this season in the pro scene, so there is some hope for Aatrox players out there. Aatrox is manaless and thus relies on his own unique resource known as Bloodwell. I'm going to go into this in detail soon, so don't worry about this just yet. Even though he may not use any mana, he does in fact have some cost to his abilities, which is actually his own health. You'll be able to see how much health his abilities will cost him if you hover your cursor over the abilities tooltip. At this moment in time, Aatrox currently costs 6,300 IP or 975 RP. He currently only has one skin, which I actually hope will change in the future, as he actually does look pretty good, and I think he deserves a couple more skins. The current skin available to purchase is Justicar Aatrox, which will cost you 975 RP. And in my honest opinion, I would wait for this to go on sale, as it may change the look and feel of Aatrox quite a bit, but it offers very little else, like some other skins for the same price do for other champions. Before you even get into the game, you're going to want to make sure your runes and masteries are optimal for Aatrox. I would suggest AD marks, scaling armor seals, scaling MR glyphs, and either lifesteal or AD quints. However, do feel free to mix and match with these, as Aatrox is quite versatile. For masteries, you should try 2190, going for as much damage in the offensive tree and some resistance in the defensive tree. If you're going to go tankier, then you should try 9210, going for some additional damage in the offensive tree, but going to some big buffs in your defenses in the defensive tree. This can also be mixed and matched depending on your playstyle, of course. For summoner spells, I would suggest either Ignite, Teleport, or Flash, whichever suits you at the time. And obviously you'll want Smite if you're going to go in the jungle, or if you're just absolutely crap at farming, as you want to guarantee that kill on the cannon minion. That's a legit strat, by the way. If you're looking to fit Aatrox into a team composition, then you should look for people on your team who have stuns or immobilizers, people like Leona or Thresh. If your team has a lot of knockback or displacement, you may not want to engage, as you'll actually have a chance of missing if your team casts their CC spell. It's just something to keep in mind when you're trying to build a team around Aatrox or fit Aatrox into a team. Aatrox's passive is Bloodwell. 100% of self-inflicted damage is stored into Bloodwell. Bloodwell starts out at 75 health, but it increases by 45 health every level, which eventually totals out at 840 health. Being out of combat for 5 seconds will decrease the stored health by 2% every second. Bloodwell also increases Aatrox's attack speed depending on how much of the bar is filled. And at level 1, the maximum attack speed is 30% with a full Bloodwell, and at level 18, the maximum is 55% attack speed with a full Bloodwell. Upon taking damage that would otherwise kill Aatrox, he enters a state of invulnerability for 3 seconds and gains health equal to how full his Bloodwell is, or should I say was. Additionally, he will gain an extra 25.80 health on his passive heal, and this is increased by 15.75 health per level. This has a cooldown of 3 minutes and 45 seconds and isn't affected by cooldown reduction. Now thanks for that, Riot. His Q is Dark Flye. Aatrox jumps to target location and deals physical damage. If an enemy is in the center of the circle, they are knocked up for 1 second. This ability will cost 10% of his current health. Its cooldown is lowered by rank, which starts out at 16 seconds at rank 1, and at 12 seconds when at rank 5. This ability will scale with 60% of Aatrox's bonus attack damage. And I would take a point in this around level 3, but I would max it last in most situations. His W is Bloodthirst and Blood Price. Bloodthirst will heal Aatrox every 3rd attack. If he's below 50% health, the effect is tripled. The heal scales with 25% of Aatrox's bonus attack damage. Blood Price will deal bonus damage every 3rd hit and scales with 100% of bonus attack damage. This 3rd hit will cost health depending on how much attack damage he has at the time. This ability has a 0.5 second cooldown at all ranks and is a toggle, so you may freely swap between these spells at any time, even when your third hit is available, so you can actually quickly change your mind or surprise your enemy. Now I would take a point in this first if I was in a lane against a champion with little or no poke, or I was in the jungle as it allows for quick healing. However, this ability scales much better with attack damage than it does with actual rank, so in the jungle you should max it first as auto attacks are going to be a primary damage source, but in lane it's absolutely your choice as to what you want to do. However, if you are looking for a recommendation, I would suggest you max it first if you're getting poked quite heavily so you can actually heal yourself back up and not just die for free. And if you're in a lane against someone who doesn't actually poke you down that much, then I would suggest you max it second. His E is Blades of Torment. Aatrox shoots out two beams that connect at the end of its duration. This will slow enemies by 40% for 1.75 seconds at rank 1 and 2.75 seconds at rank 5, scaling at 60% of current ability power and 60% of bonus attack damage. The cooldown starts at 12 seconds at rank 1 and ends at 8 seconds at rank 5. Blades of Torment will cost 5% of Aatrox's current health. Now, I would take a point in this first if I was against a laner with a lot of poke, so I could harass back and I would max it first in this situation, as it can actually deal some good damage and it allows you to farm from quite far away. His ultimate is Massacre. Casting this ability will immediately deal magic damage to any enemy surrounding Aatrox. He gains bonus attack speed and bonus range for 12 seconds. The attack speed at rank 1 is 40% and at rank 3 it's 60%. This ability has no cost and scales with 100% of Aatrox's current ability power. Its cooldown at rank 1 is 100 seconds or 1 minute and 40 seconds, and at rank 3 its cooldown is 70 seconds or 1 minute and 10 seconds. Obviously you'll want to rank this up as it becomes available to you. However, this ability does complement Aatrox's kit very well, but all it really does is improve your attack speed, which you can only have so much of anyway. Saying that, it does allow Aatrox to outrange any melee champion and he can heal or damage more frequently, so I suppose it's not that bad. Aatrox actually has a few ways of being built, so let me run through an AD Aatrox build for you real quick. I would suggest you start with a Darkin Blade as it will complement your W's healing very nicely. However, you will want to sell this when it gets to the mid or late game. For debutantes, I would suggest a couple of things. Mercury Treads make it easier to survive magic damage, and CC of course. Ninja Tabi will help against a champion who hits with basic attacks more often than not, and in some cases it may actually be beneficial to pick up Berserker's Greaves for that extra attack speed. Most of the time actually, I would suggest you add the Fiora enchantment to your booties, because this increases your movement speed when you smack an enemy, so I don't really need to tell you how good that is. Whenever you get a chance to buy, I would suggest you start going for a Blade of the Ruined King, as its lifesteal is perfect for Aatrox, and its active slow will benefit your E. You should then try and pick up a Bloodthirster, as we know Aatrox benefits highly from attack damage and lifesteal, and obviously this gives both. Either a Phantom Dancer or a Zephyr should be picked up for your attack speed item. If you do go for a Phantom Dancer, then you'll get to see Aatrox's crit animation, which makes his sword go all wobbly. I find that gorgeous. A Ravenous Hydra is amazing on Aatrox, as it will actually proc when you use your ultimate, because Aatrox's attacks are still considered melee, so that's just OP. If you're against a lot of magic damage, I would suggest you pick up a more of Malmortius, as it gives the little shield to protect you, and the lower in health you get, the more AD you get. So your W will heal you for more, and it will deal more damage depending on what's toggled at the time obviously. Keep in mind however that the more AD you have, the more health Blood Price will take away from you. And finally, you should be the biggest troll in the game and pick up a Guardian's Angel. This will proc before your Bloodwell, so you can actually revive twice. And this allows for some big plays, or it will allow you to die 3 times in vain, whichever comes first. As with AD Aatrox, a Blade of the Ruined King is also good for a tankier Aatrox, as you still want to deal some damage and get some health back, otherwise you'll just get wrecked. Same goes for the booties, your choice, it depends on who you're facing really. Ninja Tabi and Merc Treads both do good in their own way. As soon as you can, I would suggest a Warmog's Armor, as it gives tons of health and lots of regen, so you won't really need to worry about their health costs anymore. However, this will actually increase your health costs, so it's kinda like a double-edged sword, but you will get your health back pretty fast. It would also be a good idea to get a Spirit Visage for the magic resist and the self-healing passive. This, your W, and Warmogs go hand in hand. It also affects your passive. It goes without saying that a Guardian's Angel would be great for a tank Aatrox too, A Randuin's Omen would be great as it allows you to slow your attacker's attack speed and movement speed, which makes it easier to stab them in the face, and you'll take much less damage in return. If you'd like to go for a Frozen Mallet, then be my guest, as it will make you tankier, give you more attack damage, and it will slow your enemies on hit, which is perfect for Aatrox. Obviously, you'll want to start off with the machete, but what you turn it into is actually completely up to you. I would suggest either a Spirit of the Elder Lizard if you want to output more damage, or an Ancient Golem if you want to be able to take more damage. And both are great for Aatrox. If you want to be really OP, then I would suggest you grab the Wiggles. Well, I call it Wiggles anyway. Once your Wiggles is stacked, it will actually turn into the strong item we know as the Feral Flare. This is perfect for Aatrox as most of his damage is based on his basic attacks, and Feral Flare procs its damage on basic attacks. I'm sure that should really explain itself as to why that would make Aatrox extremely strong with that item. Now once you've got your jungle item, it's down to you to decide if you're going to go AD or tanky. Either way, refer to the earlier build suggestions to decide what you want to pick up, as they work just as good in the jungle as they do in lane. Yeah, I know, AP Aatrox. You gotta hear me out though. Two of his abilities scale with AP, and they actually scale very well. With the addition of Lichbane and Nash's Tooth, you can actually output some pretty good damage. Please be aware though that it's very fun to play and it can be deceptively strong. However, most of your team will probably flame you for the entire game, and you may end up being a thorn in your team's side, which obviously is never a good thing. But if you are with a full team of friends, I definitely say you should go for it. I always like to see silly things like that, especially if you can make them work. If you've ever tried this, please let me know how it went, I'd love to know. When you first get into the game, you should try and figure out who your lane opponent will be, and or if your team will be invading the enemy's jungle. If you're up against a champion with poke, or are gonna invade, you should take your E first and start to cast it whenever it's available. This will fill up your blood well a little bit so that when you actually decide to go into the jungle, you'll have an ability to slow the enemies and you'll have increased attack speed. And also, if you were to get caught and die, you'd go into Bloodwell and come out with a little bit more health than you would when you didn't have it. If you're not invading, then you'll be able to harass your lane opponent from afar, and you should be able to farm from a distance. Once you're around level 3 or so, you can start to be more aggressive. You should have all your abilities by now, so once they're combined, they can actually do significant damage early on, because the damage is hybrid and people won't really build against it straight away. If you fail to win an aggressive play, I wouldn't really worry, because Aatrox's W can heal him back up to full, so you can always try again later on. Once you've gotten a little stronger, you may want to try to get your enemy's jungler to keep coming top lane to alleviate pressure from other lanes. Dark Flight has a pretty decent range, but I wouldn't suggest pushing too far. You'll be able to use Dark Flight quite frequently, and if you play it right, you'll waste a lot of the enemy jungler's time. On the flip side though, you can use Dark Flight and Blades of Torment to give your jungler's ganks a bigger chance of success. Once you've taken your tower, which is very easy I might add because of Aatrox's attack speed buff, do note however that you won't be able to stack Bloodthirst or Blood Price procs on towers or inhibitors. However, if you do have the third hit available, you won't use it, but you will do the animation from whichever is toggled. Now getting back on track, you can actually go gank other lanes and help your team out in the mid game, or if you've decided to go for teleport, you can always teleport to other areas in the map. Aatrox can help out other lanes very easily as his knockup and slow will deter a lot of enemies, especially if they are behind, you have a lot of CC on your team, or your team are just generally ahead. Into the late game, you'll want to look for fights. With Aatrox, it can be quite easy to jump into the backline and just blow up an AD carry. However, this will make your enemy team most likely focus on you, so make sure Bloodwell's up at that point, and also try and make sure your team is on the same page as you. Otherwise, you may not even get a kill and you'll just be stuck between 5 enemies and will most likely just die for free. Aatrox's sustain at early ranks is quite small, so consider playing people who have stuns or attack speed buffs such as Nunu, Darius, Jax or Malphite. However, I have noticed something with Jax, that if you hit through his counter strike with the third hit available, you'll actually go through and deal the full damage or take the full heal. I'm not quite sure if this is meant to happen, but since it does, use that to your advantage. Ignite and other such healing debuffs will work wonders against Aatrox. I know it's a pretty rare pickup these days, but an Executioner's Calling would actually be great if you're laning against Aatrox. If you're playing an AP champion against him, then Morellonomicon has the same effect, however you will need to take him low for it to activate. If Aatrox dives in the middle of your team, consider igniting him or using an exhaust. This will completely negate any of Aatrox's potential. Aatrox works well when he's up close and personal. He'll struggle if your team has good disengage or high damage poke. If you're trying to gank Aatrox or work with your jungler to gank Aatrox, try going closer to your minions so that he'll jump on top of you with Dark Flight, and once he's used his escape, he'll struggle to get out or win a 1v2, especially early on. Finally, Aatrox is extremely weak against hard CC. Consider chaining your CC together to stop Aatrox from getting off any attacks at all. Aatrox's hands and blade will glow red if his next attack will heal him, and they'll glow purple if his next attack will deal bonus damage. Alternatively, his hands will glow green if his next attack will heal him on the Justicar Aatrox skin. If Aatrox's Bloodwell is available, he will have a red bar under his health. If it's unavailable, then it'll be white. You can actually still stack Bloodwell when it's on cooldown and thus gain the attack speed from it, and once it becomes available, the bar will keep its stacks. This could actually be used in a good bait attempt if utilised properly. Aatrox will actually gain a small amount of health in his Bloodwell every level. Dark Flight can jump over pretty much every thick wall in the game. Keeping this in mind, however, things such as stuns are taken into effect when Aatrox lands, but things that disrupt movement will negate the jump entirely, which puts it on a full cooldown. When Aatrox goes into Bloodwell, he'll use up all of his current stacks, which in turn will reduce your attack speed down to its base amount. So if you were in a close fight when you got put into Bloodwell, it may not be in your favour anymore when you come out of it. Now, I've mentioned this previously, but I'm going to mention it again. If your next attack will either deal bonus damage or heal you, you may freely swap between them to choose what you want to do. Now, I mention this again because it's actually a really good thing to know, and if I can get it in your brain, the better it'll be for you. Because Blood Price costs health on the third hit, it will actually go into his Bloodwell. Bloodthirst and Blood Price have different animations. Bloodthirst is a lunge, and Blood Price is a downward slice. That was actually an unintentional rhyme right there. Though Aatrox's spells may not look that different with his skins, Justicar Aatrox has a little thing above his wings when he ults. And that reminds me of something, but I can't quite remember what it is. If you know, please let me know. Keeping on that subject, both skins have their own back out animation, or to call it by its proper name, recall animation. Finally, Grievous Wounds will not reduce the healing from Bloodwell, as they will be removed from him when he enters the stasis. Now, I'm sure I've not listed every single intricate thing about Aatrox, so if you have any additional things you'd like to add, then feel free to let me know, or others know obviously, in the comments. I'd appreciate that a lot, and I'm sure the people who want to learn will also appreciate it too. Now, for those who are interested in this type of stuff, I'm going to just run through Aatrox's base stats at level 1 and at level 18. At level 1, Aatrox's base stats are as follows. 480 health, scaling at 85 per level, 5.80 health regen, scaling at 0.5 per level, 58 attack damage, scaling at 3.2 per level, 0.65 attack speed, scaling at 3% per level, 22 armor, scaling at 3.8 per level, 31 magic resist, scaling at 1.25 per level. And so obviously once you hit level 18, his base stats will be 1925 health, 15 health regen, 113 attack damage, 0.98 attack speed, 86 armor, and 53 magic resist. Keep in mind, however, these values are rounded up to better suit what it will actually say when you're in the game. I hope you guys have learned something in this guide. If you have, please consider giving it a like. If you have anything at all you'd like to add, then feel free to leave it in the comments. Just be aware though guys, I'd recommend you practice in normal games or in custom games with friends before you head off into ranked. That's actually a really good general rule for any champion you want to play. You never want to be a hindrance to your team. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this and I hope you've learned a lot. I'll see you guys later. Peace! Finally, what?